The following program has not been approved by any sanctioning bodies associated with MLS, US Soccer, or Don Garber. It is not intended to replace actual informed opinions from soccer experts. Side effects may include propensity to spout bad takes, excessive use of salary acronyms, and a longing for the return of running penalty kicks. The World Scam is not responsible for increased enthusiasm for Major League Soccer after listening. Enjoy at your own risk.
Hey, you, welcome back to the World's Scam. So happy to have you here. We are just weeks away, days away, streets away from the MLS season starting. And we figured what time would be better than right now to preview specifically the Western Conference. So we've got the Chief, we've got Grayson, and we've got 15 teams to run through and take a look at going into 2026. Chief, we're doing conference previews. How are we feeling?
Well, I mean, considering we just pivoted this episode because you told the guests we were planning to have the wrong day to be here, I think we're doing okay. Look, when you have a free podcast, you get what you pay for. All right.
I believe, like most MLS managers probably believe, is that you should never be comfortable in your role. You should always be on your toes. You never know who's coming up behind you. And I like to bring that same approach to guests on the podcast. You know, I don't want them to be comfortable. I don't want them to feel like they just have a guaranteed spot. You got to stay flexible with me, okay?
Yeah, you gotta really read to see what Kevin is asking for, and maybe understand that when he says, "Do you want to come on tomorrow?" but he sends it late at night and you don't read it until the next day, that tomorrow is today.
Look, there's time zones involved. There's a whole mess.
Right.
I recognize this totally and completely.
Right. We can throw a form on the post website to ask how many days in the week are there, and that'll help everyone to understand a little bit where this is coming from. I think
if you work out every other day, how many days do you work out in a week?
How many works are you working out in a week? So let's get into it. We got 15 teams in the Western Conference. There's been a lot of moving and shaking in the West. They looking to get back on top after failing miserably to win MLS Cup this past year. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah,
look at that.
Let's see it. Oh boy, if you are watching on video, you will see that I have busted out here. I'm going to see how this goes. A little tier list for us, okay? So we're only going to do the Western Conference, but I think this would be a good way that once we sort of talk about a team, we'll slot them into a tier. They are S through F. We'll keep you informed as we go. I know most people are listening to this just on the audio, but yeah, I think this is the way to do it. Grayson, how do we feel about tier lists generally, though? We for them? We against them?
I think I'm against.
Ooh, okay, good. I'm glad we discussed this before the show.
Yeah, the letters are not in the right order. That
is true.
I don't know. I think you get, like, is it a curve? Right? Do we have to have like a certain number of people in every spot, so where there's like most of them in B's and C's?
Ooh.
Because for me, like, there's like some S's and A's and then D's and F's.
Yeah.
in the West.
Look, we are not helicopter parents here, okay? Like, we are going to give people the grade that they deserve. And if that triggers some of the teams involved, well, I mean, do better. How about that?
Yeah. I don't necessarily want it to become pass fail, like either S or F, but I'm not going to sort of force feed a bell curve on this thing. I also think a tier list in this context, I'm leaving it incredibly vague. We can look at it if you want to imagine it as just the Western Conference, that's fine. If you want to sort of imagine it as these teams and the sort of broader MLS, so maybe how we would view their chances of winning
just
trophy.
The Western Conference.
Just the Western Conference. Well, I mean, an S in the Western Conference may be an A in general MLS as a hypothetical. Maybe you disagree.
There's too many variables. We're just making a chart. We're just making a chart to put on Twitter.
I want to get in. I want to fight this. I don't want any predefined characteristics. I want to argue about this. That's way more fun for me.
I was going to say, too many variables. There are no variables, and that's what just makes it chaos.
Everything is a variable. Come on.
Oh, God. So with that in mind, we're going to work our way bottom to top from the standings in the Western Conference last year. And with that, we start with the vaunted Sporting Kansas City. Last year finished on 28 points. They have new manager Raphael Wicki coming over from Switzerland, was previously at Chicago. This is where it gets bleak. Big additions would be adding Calvin Harris as a free agent, and big subtractions. I had to write a name, and the only name I really recognized was Mason Toye, whose option was declined at the end of last year. So in a lot of ways, this decision was made 8 months ago.
You forget that as far as on the addition side, they were reported to have talked to Cristiano Ronaldo
several years ago.
A couple of years ago.
Okay, fair. Which, if
they may have discovery rights still.
Yes.
So, I mean, you're talking about a big gammon fusion if he decides to leave his Saudi. We're not going to call it a prison, but, it sort of feels that way at this. Yeah. He might call it that.
Based on what we know about how this league operates, if Kansas City really did have dibs on Cristiano Ronaldo a couple years ago, if he was going to come to MLS, it's all fair. He has to go there.
Yeah.
That's how the league does things.
We know how they follow. You follow rules when it comes to superstars, and there's no corners cut here.
Yeah. Ask Clint Dempsey, ask Jermaine Jones. They'll tell you, you end up exactly who's at the top spot or whoever has your rights. My question to you guys on Sporting Kansas City is not where necessarily do they stand in Major League Soccer or the Western Conference. Could Sporting Kansas City make the playoffs in USL?
Yes.
I like that we're thinking about it.
They'd make the playoffs. I don't know that I would bet them heavily to win, but I mean, there's still some decent talent on this team. I mean, the real question is I don't think that the manager has his visa yet. So I don't think that he's actually here working. And when your best addition is more famous for being a DJ than a soccer player in terms of name, there's not a lot of confidence here.
No. That's a good cut.
I guess my question is, are they tanking for the number 1 overall pick? Is that what's going on here?
If the number 1 overall pick mattered, I'd say yes. I do think, and we'll probably sort of suss this out as we go, I do think a lot of teams who don't feel like they can win right now are definitely holding back. They're sandbagging. Yeah. These new GAM rules where GAM doesn't expire at the end of the year sort of encourages this more than it ever has. I think you throw in the weirdness of the sprint season, the World Cup break this year, the season schedule change. If you are Sporting Kansas City, why would you go and spend $25 million on South American attacking talent to maybe get into the playoffs when you could just hoard resources and fly into mid to late 2027? This
is also a team too that you got to remember that they are still coming out of the Peter Vermees era, and this is a team where they were under the same leadership and the same general style of play forever.
Yeah,
and we've seen in this league that teams can make big turnarounds in a relatively short amount of time. It's a big ask to suddenly bring someone in and do business entirely different than basically this team has done for their entire recorded history. It's a big ask to the new manager. It's a big ask to the new front office regime. And with all the changes coming in MLS, I don't think you can fault Sporting Kansas City for sort of keeping all the bullets chambered and just seeing which direction things go. I mean, if I were an SKC fan, I'd be annoyed by that, but
Fair.
it's probably good business. I don't know.
Okay, so that's boring. Kevin, you raised a good question. Okay. Or a good point. So with GAM not expiring, okay, but GAM, the bonus GAM under the U22 model having to be used in the same year it's acquired.
Oh, okay.
If teams are, let's not say tanking. If teams
are holding pattern.
If teams are being conservative with their roster spend over the next couple of years while, we wait out Messi and the calendar switch and the World Cup and roster rule changes or whatever, will we see this year a team that's on the U22 model trade like a bunch of GAM expiring that season to another team for a smaller amount of GAM that does not expire?
GAM
oh my
laundering.
God. Yes, but I think you see that during the World Cup window. I don't think you'll see it before then, because you kind of need to see like baseball season, right? Like who's buying and who's selling at the All-Star break. You kind of want to see where you stand, because like right now the vibe is Sporting Kansas City has a chance to set the all-time least number of points record, right? So, but there's a world, and we saw it last year with Vancouver, where they are sneaky good and they're hovering around 8th or 9th place going into that time. Then maybe they don't do that. But if they are in dead last and they are sitting on $2 million in extra GAM that will not get to move to next year, yeah, why would you not trade $2 million in GAM this year for, say, $1 million GAM that won't expire to a team that will use the $2 million this year? Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm explaining that.
Well, if you're like LAFC and you want to make a roster move in the summer, and you've already and you're like a $500,000 GAM short of that move, well, we can take like $250K or $300K or $400K or whatever of GAM that doesn't expire,
right,
and send it over to Kansas City for like 800, 900K of GAM that's going to expire that season. So what we need is someone to mathematically figure out what's the exchange rate between like expiring GAM and non-expiring GAM in a trade.
I remember what's fun about this resource too is that, at any point MLS could engage in a rug pull and just say, we're getting away from GAM and you've spent all this time and money accumulating this GAM that's non-expiring GAM, only for them to declare it's worthless in a salary update this summer.
Like we have seen GAM for TAM trades in the past, although TAM is no longer tradable. We have not seen, I'll trade you a quarter for 2 nickels yet.
You almost get a little bit of that, and I do think this is how it could materialize as well, Grayson, is the GAM this year for GAM next year type thing, where there's a little bit of a premium on, we need, 250,000 GAM now, and you'll get, 350,000 next year in GAM, and a super draft.
I don't think it would ever be done that way. I think it would be done with like, there would be a player that launders the money, where like you trade a back roster, supplemental roster guy, and he comes with GAM in exchange for GAM, and the numbers work out based on what type you're trading. It feels like
Bryce Duke just signed with the team, the human NFT.
Stay woke up, Bryce Duke being sold. We'll see where San Diego feels at the World Cup break. But if you see Bryce Duke sell for $2 million in GAM to Sporting Kansas City, something's amiss.
For all that, I say we play Sporting Kansas City. They're F tier right now. I don't think there's any hope, and they're at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't think there's any disagreement there. We move then next up on our list, the LA Galaxy. Stunning. They finished 2 points higher than Sporting Kansas City last year, 30 points. Greg Vanney is still there, but they've been busy. Okay, Jacob Gillespie, Justin Hack remake that defense, or Justin Hack, excuse me. They got Nas Nascimento back from Botafogo. He's been on loan with them previously. He's on loan again. And then the big move is João Klaus coming over from St. Louis. This does fill the designated player role that is vacated by essentially the only subtraction of note, which is Riqui Puig going on season-ending injury designation. I don't know if he was ever officially there last year. They kept holding out hope he would come back, and he never did. Tough loss with Riqui Puig. Last year was a disaster for them in the table. Managed to get into Champions League via the Leagues Cup, so they had that going for them. But a number of additions, and LA Galaxy was sort of I don't want to say surging, but I want to say surging at the end of last year. Chief, what's the vibe you have around LA Galaxy?
The news about Puig it sucks.
Yeah.
Just because of how dynamic he is. I think João Klaus that's making the best of a bad situation, just because we talked about this in a previous episode, how difficult it is to fill that 1 year of a DP spot when you put your DP on season-ending injury. I don't think it can possibly be as bad as last year. And I think that they've at least covered for the fact that they're missing Puig with Klaus. For me, the move of the offseason for them, and one of the best moves in Major League Soccer this offseason, has been Justin Hack. I think that he is, pound for pound, possibly the best center back in MLS. He offers you an incredible value on defense. He's a threat on set pieces. I like it's just a solid winning move, bringing in an MLS veteran who still has upside in his career onto the back line. I don't think they have, without Puig, the firepower, and I think they're missing a little in the midfield in order to really challenge for the top of the West, but I've got them as a solid B, which is a major improvement from where they were last year.
Yeah, I could see an argument for even higher. But Grayson, what's your vibe on LA Galaxy?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the real value of Hack was that his salary was capped by MLS's free agent rules. So to get a guy of his quality at the number that they got him at is a big deal, and it lets them also get a guy like Glesnes, right?
Yeah.
So bringing both those guys into the defense should solidify that unit. And like you said, Kevin, they really weren't nearly as bad at the end of the year as they started the year. So I don't think Klaus is a real replacement for Puig. So I do have a hard time putting them above B. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if they come out and are as good as anybody in the West. What
I'll say about this too is that they're a team where you could I have them as a B right now. There are moves they could make during this year that would push them up solidly into the A tier. I think it's a good base for them to be at. And the other thing too is that I think they're well coached. That they have a coaching staff that knows what it takes to win MLS Cup. And that is a incredibly rare thing for a team that was as far down on the rankings and the table as they were last year. They're well coached. I think that they could be a sleeper team with some quality moves in the summer window.
Yeah, they feel like a team that would be a good bet to win Leagues Cup, another trophy out there. We'll put them in the B tier, and we move on to St. Louis, who finished 2 points higher than the LA Galaxy on 32 points. They have a new manager, Yoann Damet, former assistant at Montreal and Columbus, and infamously, was the 3-time interim manager at FC Cincinnati, maybe just 2-time. He takes over St. Louis. He's been somebody that has been sort of, was on various watch lists of soon to be managers in MLS, finally gets his first gig permanently. Big additions, it's hard to find big. I've got Daniel Edelman in a trade from the New York Red Bulls, and Mamadou Fall, who technically comes over from FC Barcelona. You might have heard of them, but was not playing with the first team and was an LAFC player for many, many years. And then the aforementioned João Klaus moving on from St. Louis to Galaxy. For me, I think this team is going to be a disaster. I think they're going to be terrible. I don't necessarily think that's Demay's fault. He's always been sort of credited as a tactical genius. But I don't think they're going to be very good. They just don't have a lot of talent. At the end of the day, like, they're going to need to out-talent some of these teams, and they ain't got it.
Well, and they're also transitioning like their game model, right? Like
yes.
They were like a pressing, press and counter type team, and they hired Demay, who's coming from Columbus. And I'm not saying he's not necessarily a tactical fit, but presumably you hire Wilfred Nancy's assistant because you want to play with the ball more. And do they have the players to do that? I don't think so. So, yeah, I mean, I think I would put them right next to Kansas City.
Yeah, I've got them as an F right now. I don't think it's going to be very good this year. They have a lot of evolution in their style of play, like you said. Where they do have some wiggle room is I think was reading this a couple weeks ago when Doyle reported it. R.I.P. in peace, Matt Doyle. Look out for him on Soccer Wise. I believe they have the ability to buy all of their designated players down if they want to buy them down to TAM players, which means
that's interesting.
That this is a team where you could see a lot of moves. Either the window is still open, you could see moves right now, or this could be a team where you see moves and they become a player at the summer window. But as of right now, especially with Klaus going out, I don't see who's going to score for this team. And I think it's going to be really hard. And this team is going to have to grind results out in the 1-0 category in order to get points. And I just don't see him doing it. So I've got him as an F as well.
Yeah, I think we got to put him there.
But there's reason for hope if you're a St. Louis fan.
Yes.
Is that they are transitioning to a different style of play. I've never seen it, but Yohan Demay, you don't keep getting coaching gigs unless someone or a lot of someone's out there think that you've got it. And they have the resources, and they've shown at least some ambition to spend historically as an organization. So I hope that they go all in on this build with Demay and let him have the shopping window, and let their new leadership have the shopping window to build this team.
Yeah. No, it'll be an interesting one to watch for sure. And another team sort of in a holding pattern. You could see them just sort of waiting out.
I'm not even sure they're in a holding pattern. It's just kind of, you got to tear it down to the studs a little bit, right?
Yeah. I guess that's a better way.
They're going to get their Fall is a nice signing. He was very good for LAFC.
Yeah.
So, maybe give Demay some time, figure out which of the players on the roster are worth keeping, which ones they can move on from. When you settle on a style of play, then you could think about, okay, well, what designated players will fit that and be really additive. I mean, like, if they have a chance to be really smart about this and then be really good, in 27, either in the sprint season or after. Just right now, I think they're going to suck.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I guess I should say by holding pattern, I mean a team not trying to win right now. Yes, they're certainly transitioning. So that takes us to the Houston Dynamo. Finished last year on 37 points. Ben Olsen still at the helm there. Two big additions. Ache is back. on a free after spending a season in Mexico. And Bogus is back in MLS, a transfer from Cruz Azul. He was transferred there via LAFC or from LAFC, was a very good player for LAFC. No reason to think he wouldn't be good or won't be good for Houston. Not a whole lot of big subtractions. I mean, they obviously lost a couple of players, but nothing terribly of note.
I like this team.
Yeah,
I like this team a lot. I like the moves they've made. They're good quality, short-term, high upside moves. I have some questions about how they're going to deploy tactically with the new players they've brought in, but they've addressed glaring needs that Houston has had over the past couple of years. And I think they're going to be exciting to watch. So I think it's like a double win where I think they're going to be much better. And I think they're actually going to be a fun watch too. I've got them as a B alongside LAFC. I think they could be a high B if everything works out, but I really like the way they built this team.
I had them pegged.
I got him as a C.
Okay.
I got him as a C. Well, I think these are like we sucked last year. We're trying to get into the playoffs this year, but these are not. I don't think these are like high ceiling moves. Like I think Bogusz is a really good player, but he's not, Ricky Puig. He's not Evander. He's not.
Well, LAFC doesn't have Ricky Puig either, and they're a B. So
you mean LAFC, right? But like, I think Galaxy has a better roster across the board. I think Galaxy's got a better coach. Galaxy has been better more recently. So I don't hate Houston's moves. And I don't hate saying like we have like Bogusz is proven in the league, so it's not as big of a risk. But I don't think he's like best player on a Shield or Cup winning team level. And so I got him squarely in the C.
I think that makes sense. Achache was good for them when he was there. Unfortunately, sort of ended his time. The spitting incident. He did serve that suspension.
Happens to everybody.
He served the suspension in Mexico, so he is eligible to play right away.
Under the MLS's new Remain in Mexico policy for serving suspensions.
Hang on. They weren't supposed to announce that yet.
Yeah. C, I'm fine with C. Okay. I think they're going to be better than that, but I don't have them higher than a B, I'll say. So I don't hate C.
I think that makes sense. Now, I think an interesting one for our barometer here, the Colorado Rapids, 41 points last year. They've got a new manager in Matt Wells, a longtime assistant over in the Premier League, sort of going the Eric Ramsey Minnesota route here. They added Noah Cobb from Atlanta United and Dante Sealy from Montreal. They did lose Cole Bassett in a trade to the Portland Timbers, as well as I think his brother didn't have his option picked up. At least if I'm remembering that correctly. Anyway, Colorado Rapids, new manager Matt Wells.
Do you have any sense what you're going to get with this team? I mean, they hire Wells, and as best I can tell, he has never been a manager, even as an interim manager at any level. He's been an assistant at some clubs you've heard of. I Spurs most recently, and I think maybe Fulham as well. But I just have a hard time even knowing what to think about how this team is going to deploy, what style of play this team is going to have. I think their roster is bang on average. And this feels like one of those teams where if Wells ends up being a good hire, then he's that idea that a good manager can make your team 10% better. But if he sucks, I think things could get bleak pretty quick for Colorado if he has trouble adjusting to MLS, or if whatever he wants to do tactically doesn't fit what they have on the roster right now. Because like I said, it's good, not great. They're not wowing you at any position in terms of there's no match winners on this team, I would say.
Yeah.
So right now, I've got them as a C. I could be talked into them being a D right now, or I could see them being a D. It's just so volatile because you just don't know what you're going to get tactically or from a leadership standpoint on this team.
Here's something about Matt Wells I find interesting.
Okay.
He appears to have been demoted at Tottenham twice over the previous 3 seasons.
Never got fired though. That says something.
Okay, because he was acting assistant head coach as of April 25th, 2023.
Then there's acting assistant,
and then he
to
became
the
a
head coach.
senior assistant coach on 25 June 2024.
Okay,
and I feel like senior assistant coach is below assistant head coach.
Oh, that's a good question.
But regardless, he reverted from senior assistant to assistant in July 2025.
Huh.
Good for him getting this promotion to MLS. I don't know.
No, wait. Was that first role? Was that acting
assistant head coach? Head
coach. Okay. I know in England they do make a distinction between coach and manager sometimes, so it can be
whatever. I don't like this team. Maybe he's really good. They're a D for me.
I don't hate the D.
I will never argue with the D. And I will tell you the sense I get from Colorado fans that I see online discussing this team, they could not have lower expectations. And I think Colorado Rapids have a decent chance of losing their entire fan base to the new NWSL team if things really go off the rails.
I forgot about this, and this may be a reason to put them in F, actually.
Ooh.
Aren't there rumors about a rebrand for Colorado?
There was an ownership email sent out. Or no. I think Colorado, yes. Colorado, there were trademarks. That's right. There was like a Colorado FC. Sorry, I was thinking they're coming up soon. RSL sent out email about a potential rebrand. So both of these.
I am always worried about a horseshit team that's talking about rebranding. Like that feels like the ultimate. We have no confidence in our ability to actually sell tickets and move merch based on quality. So we're going to we're going to spam the rebrand button and try and get your attention that way. Leave them as a D, but there's some F vibes going on there when it comes to the rebrand aspect.
Couldn't agree more. Now, speaking of F vibes, my God, the San Jose Earthquakes, 41 points with manager Bruce Arena last year. Chiefs' favorite team last year, I think, is safe to say. I love
this team. Yeah. Now, it's why it's disappointing that their big addition this year is Timo Werner. Kevin, I did some research actually for this podcast, knowing that we were going to be doing a preview on this. I know, right? Because I thought we were going to have a guest, and I wanted to look smart in front of the company. Did you know that Timo Werner scored 23 goals combined in his previous 5 seasons in Europe? That includes stops at Chelsea, Leipzig, and Spurs. 23 goals in 5 seasons.
They kind of need him to score 23 goals this
year. Yeah. Like they need that right now.
They might need 43 goals based on the rest of this roster. This is bleak. What's frustrating is from a star marketability name you've heard of, German national team, World Cup player. Timo Werner is a guy that probably should have been in the league 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And he comes over at a time where I think if you have the take that he's washed and is not going to produce with San Jose, I might disagree with you, but I don't think you're crazy for that.
Yeah.
Which is wild. Where this team really falls apart is when we start running down the big subtractions. Christian Espinoza, the saga there of accidentally forgetting to exercise the option to keep him there, which is insane. People lost their jobs over this. Mark Anthony Kaye left. Joseph Martinez left. They trade Chance Cal, and Chicho Arango goes out on loan back home to Colombia for personal reasons. I'll say the scuttlebutt is whatever got him out of RSL in the first place may have also chased him out of San Jose here. I don't know if it's the same issue or new issues, but that was some of the rumors I saw out there. I don't feel confident enough to articulate them, but there's that. I don't know. This could be a wildly entertaining team, though.
For all that, number one, there's still a Bruce Arena coach team, which I think puts a hard cap on how far this team will fall. And, not for nothing, they lost a bunch of players that didn't play defense at all, like that had a passing relationship with defense.
Yeah.
Timo's going to run. Like, you can say what else you want to say about his ability to put the ball in the net. He's at the very least going to give you effort, and he's going to be part of a press. He's going to be part of an organized team defense. I think for me, unless Grayson's got like really strong feelings otherwise, I think the Bruce Arena keeps this team at like a low C level. I don't know that I want to bring them down to a D, just because I think the coaching is going to be good enough to keep them above that level.
Ooh.
I would make them a D, and the reason is they're going to get smoked by every good team.
Yeah.
We've already got like 3 teams that suck. So I mean, I could see them being like the best of that class of bad team.
I guess we can do C.
Yeah. I'm going to stand on the table for Bruce here a little bit.
I will begrudgingly go along with C. I think D would have been just fine, but I agree with you. I think there's a chance that this team could be better, but man, they just need some more attacking talent. It takes us over to RSL, who also finished on 41 points. Pablo Mastroeni is still there. Their big addition is Lucas Angle. This will officially go down as a transfer from Middlesbrough, but he spent all last year on loan with FC Cincinnati, was a very reliable player for Cincinnati. They lose Brian Ojeda in a trade to Orlando City. This is a team that for me is going to live and die based on what happens with Diego Luna. I think this could be the year that if Diego Luna is going to be that star player you can build around, I think he might need to show it this year. He started off last year hot as hell. Look at his production. It does fall off as the season goes on. I need him to take a step up, but maybe not so big of a step up that he gets sold around the World Cup window.
What's interesting to me about this RSL team is that they are a team that is similar to LA Galaxy, where they've got a lot of talent up and down the roster. They don't have an elite goal scoring, like top end finisher that I think they really, really need. I think that the big miss on this team was that they have the ability to go out. They had the roster space to go out and get a DP striker. They needed to go out and get a DP striker, and they just didn't do it. And don't know why. Don't know what their roster build philosophy is. Maybe they're also in #team rebrand as well. I'm not a Lucas Angle fan. I thought that he was fine with FC Cincinnati last year, but he is probably going to be best deployed as a center back in a back three, which maybe points to the idea that RSL is going to be playing with wing backs and a 3 at the back setup this year. I don't know, but they've got 2 in Yedlin and Angle. They've got 2 guys that FC Cincinnati tried to do something with, and ended up with the idea that these guys just don't offer you enough going forward offensively to justify playing in a wing back formation. I see this RSL team as a team that I think they're going to be solid. I think they're going to win games they're supposed to win. They're going to lose games they're supposed to lose. I've got them as a C as well. I think that they have the opportunity to do more if they go out and they find someone at the summer window, or if Luna takes, the next proverbial big step forward that stays for a full year. But this team just doesn't wow me the way it is right now.
Yeah, I was thinking C. I mean, I like a lot of the players on Salt Lake. I really want to know what they saw in FC Cincinnati's wingback play last year that they said they just want both those guys.
Right.
But they're both like solid veteran players.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to win games for you, but they're smart players, they're experienced players. And I think so that what they are is probably floor raising players. So RSL, unlike a team like San Jose or Houston, I don't think has disaster potential.
No, I agree with that.
But I still think that they belong in that C tier because as currently constituted, they don't have enough to really, really be scary even on their best day.
No. It's also weird, too, that this team is going to have their opening match week one roster is going to feature 3 players that started at wing back for FC Cincinnati at some point last year between DeAndre Yedlin, Lucas Engel, and Dominic Markzuk, one of their U22s, who spent part of the season on loan with FC Cincinnati and looked fine. But that is a really weird... I don't remember the last time I saw that, where a team basically has the entire position group from another team in MLS year over year.
And it wasn't a good position group.
It wasn't good. Yeah, that's the other thing, too.
Not a good position group.
No.
Well, I should say
they were fine. They
FC
were
It was not a
fine.
good position group for what they needed from the position.
Yes.
Yeah.
FC Cincinnati, the reason why they are on RSL is because Cincinnati did not want them anymore.
Right.
Maybe with a more defensive mind at that position and you think you can create more elsewhere, maybe it makes more sense. Cincinnati was looking for offense from that position and was not getting it from either one. I goofed this up. That takes us now to the Portland Timbers, 44 points with manager Phil Neville. Big additions, Brandon Bye, free agent from New England, and Cole Bassett, the aforementioned from the Colorado Rapids, acquired on trade. They did lose David Ayala on a trade to Inter Miami. This was one of those Inter Miami goes on a cash for spending spree. It seemed obvious that they knew there were no limits to cash furs, and it's not clear that the public knew that. I'd be curious to know how many of the other teams knew that at that time. But he was a very promising player, and Portland fans sad to see that. Jonathan Rodriguez waived. I believe this was a injury situation, goes from designated player to not on the roster. A little long in the tooth. I could see somebody maybe being interested, but I think he's out for the year. So that's tough. Not that he was necessarily a key piece for them going into this year, but interesting.
But it opens a spot. Yeah. It opens a designated player spot, and this is a team that has not shied away from spending money and swinging big on their designated players. And it's a team that's been defined by star players. It really, really has. Yeah. And they're currently, I think that they were on the 3DP model. I think they only have 2 U22s under contract right now. So they can stay on the 3DP model. They could go to the 4 U22 model, bring in some younger talent and have some of the extra TAM or some extra GAM to throw around. I just don't think this team did enough in the offseason to really break out of that middle tier of the Western Conference. I don't hate their roster, but it's a common thread with most of these teams we've talked about so far is that most of these teams lack a match winner. They lack someone where, when you think about the best teams in MLS, that there is a star on the roster that you're like, damn, you got to account for this guy at all portions of the match. Portland is solid. I think that their roster keeps them at a high C, low B level. I think that they're probably, sort of locked into that 6-7 role, in the Western Conference. I just don't love the upside potential on this team currently, unless they make an addition at some point before the start of the year.
I got him as a low B. I got him just above RSL, so maybe that's like the cusps where we're at. But I like DaCosta was really good last year.
Yeah.
And he's a young player, so he's got a lot of room to improve. And, given him the benefit of a year in the league, he may be ready to take a little bit of a jump. They signed Velda late in the year.
Yeah.
They got other guys on the roster who I like. Phil Neville's been pretty decent in the league. Like, I don't think anybody would say he's been like the best manager in the league, but he's done a pretty nice job at both of his stops. So I think they have, especially if they make additions, which they have room for, as Chief mentioned.
Yeah.
They have a lot of potential. So I got them at, I think where we're going to put them low B, lower B, like below Galaxy, higher than RSL.
I agree with that.
I think that tracks. I don't think this would happen, but if I owned the Portland Timbers, I would make this year a referendum on Phil Neville. Like, if this team isn't getting any better than this sort of like playoff line, low playoff position, I might be looking to make a change. Just like nothing is particularly inspiring me from him. And yeah, Grayson, I think it was interesting to hear you say that like you thought he was pretty good. In my mind, he's not good, but I don't know how much of that is being colored by those Miami teams that were just bizarre creations before Messi showed up. So
it's Miami, it just is what it is. They're
right.
Different state of being.
Look, if they're not breaking the roster rules, they're breaking the roster rules. So who's to say? That then takes us to FC Dallas, 44 points last year under Eric Quill as their manager. Not a whole lot of big additions or subtractions. Ran Benjamin is transferred in from Israel, and they did lose their goalkeeper and I believe captain, Martin Paes, who is transferred to Ajax. Which is exciting to see there. The Lucho Acosta experiment last year did not go according to plan. They still have Peter Musa, despite I've seen commentary out there that Peter Musa would be a fantastic cash for target for teams who are maybe more contenders than Dallas. I do think Dallas is rumored to be linked with a number 10 down in South America. If that happens, I think that they could be a very good team this year. But otherwise, this was a middling team last year. And I don't really see anything to make me think that's not going to be true this year.
Yeah, I've got this team backsliding a little bit right now. I've got them as a C. I don't think they did enough in the offseason to move themselves up in the Western Conference. I think there's going to be a little bit of a backslide. There was a little bit of Ewing theory with getting rid of Lucho Acosta last year that I don't think is going to carry over from last year to this year.
But it was powerful last year. They
was
like undefeated in the last 15 games and they got rid of him.
Which, just sort of speaks to the idea of how much of a prick Lucho can be when he's motivated to do so. The problem is they didn't replace him. They still haven't replaced him. Yeah. They don't have, that midfield or advanced midfield threat to link up the midfield and the attacking third. Benjamin, he's nothing for me. Like, I don't see anything there that makes that interesting. This is a team that needed to go out and it needed to swing. They swung last year trying to bring Lucho in as a distressed asset coming out of FC Cincinnati. They needed to do another move like that this year. They didn't. And I've got them backsliding. I think that this could be a bad team this year. So I'm going to say C for them.
Grayson, you agree? Was that an agreement?
Yeah, I just got sent some videos of my nephew skiing, so I'm looking at that. C is fine with Dallas for me.
I think it makes sense. Glancing at who we have left, I don't want to say we forced this by any means, but this is looking awfully bell curvy. That takes us now to Austin. 47 points last year. Nico Estevez as your manager. Big additions in Facundo Torres coming in from Palmeiras, was previously with Orlando and pretty good in Orlando. Jaden Nelson as well, traded from Vancouver, so breaking up that Whitecaps team a little bit. Osman Bukhari is transferred somewhere to the wilderness of Poland. There is something about Austin's ability to get out of bad designated player contracts that is just astounding. Now, by the same token, they're not necessarily good at bringing in designated players. So
they got a spot open though.
They do have a spot open, and not to be, cliche about it, but coming back from injury this year should be Brandon Vasquez. Mm-hmm. It's going to kind of feel like a new signing because you didn't really get him all that much last year. So I could go either way with Austin.
Yeah, I've got Austin as a B. I think that what is going to basically define Austin's season this year is, when does Brandon Vasquez come back? What does he look like coming back? Because he's being paid and he's occupying a premium roster spot for someone that needs to be, a 15 to 20 goal scorer based on his pay rate and his designated player status. So for me, if they can get him back and they can get him integrated, they can get him enough matches, and he'll be helped by the fact this year that when he comes back, hopefully he comes back earlier in the year and they'll get the big break over the World Cup. Yeah. So he's not going to be expected to jump back and immediately go into the full grind of an MLS season. If they have to wait to get him back, there's more games in the back half of the year this year than ever before. If they get him back healthy and he is a 15 to 20 goal scorer, this is a high B team. If they go out and they make a signing with that third designated player spot, I think this is a team that could sneak into the A range really quickly. But as it is right now, I've got them as a solid B.
Seems fine.
Solid B. Could we make the argument for A? I mean, Facundo Torres and Brandon Vasquez are proven.
You got to know what Vasquez is going to. You got to know what Vasquez looks like coming back. I think that with Torres is good. A healthy, quality Brandon Vasquez, the kind of Vasquez that made himself a nearly $10 million sale to Liga MX, that pushes this team into the low A range. But you got to know what you're getting back, and you got to know how it looks when it comes back.
Also, just looking at what we have left, man, I don't think we could put Austin in the A range. I think because we're going to have like too many teams in the top two. Yeah, the top two spots.
It's maybe
like I'm not going to give everybody an A. Like this is like an intro to sociology course at Brown University.
Well, that would be false because Brown doesn't grade. Everybody knows this. Where I see with this tier range is the B range. I think that these are teams where a move or things going well can bump them up to the A range. I think you can go up from there, but I think that I like where we're at with all these teams in terms of most of these teams either need to show me something in order to bump up, or they're a move away from getting bumped up.
I think that makes sense. Now, another interesting one here, the Seattle Sounders, 55 points last year with Brian Schmetzer as their manager, always. Big additions. It was not a whole lot. Hassani Dotson added as a free agent. They did a lot of their buying last year. I guess in a similar vein to Brandon Vasquez coming back, Jesus Ferreira should be healthy this season. He didn't get to play. Well, I don't think he played at all. Didn't he get injured in the preseason before the season? So something there. Big transfers, though, out of Seattle. Danny Leyva is transferred out to Necaxa in Mexico, and Obed Vargas was a 11th hour transfer window deadline day deal to Atletico Madrid. Will be a tough loss there. what do we make of the Seattle Sounders?
Too good. They're too good.
Yeah.
They're too good. Like, they have too many good
Leagues
players.
Cup last year.
Schmetzer is too successful.
Yeah.
They're going to be competing for something this year, and they're going to be they could be a top 4 or 5 team easy.
Yeah. It's almost like inertia with Seattle Sounders. Like, no matter what else you think about them, they always seem to find themselves top couple spots. They had some bad injury luck down the stretch last year. Their designated player spots are all spoken for. Mm-hmm. I really, really like their U22s. They've got 2 U22s. The one kid from Charlotte that they picked up, Petkovic.
Yeah. Yes.
I love. And you look up and down the roster, there just really isn't a weak link on the roster. You do have some concern over, like, what are you going to get from Jordan Morris as he continues to age in his career? I don't know that he's worth a designated player spot this year, but they are so well coached, and they are a team that just simply, they don't miss on signings. Like, they evaluate talent really, really well. They're an A. I agree. Like, I want to be talked down into thinking that and I really do think that this year, at least for Seattle Sounders, like, this is a meta thing more about the league itself. I am curious, does the Sounders business model play in MLS X.0, where it's the era of the super DP? And I wonder if they're lacking the top end talent to really be a part of the elite conversation in this league. So A probably makes sense, but I am curious if the league is going to start passing Sounders by if they don't adapt to you have to buy way, way better players at the top end with your DP spots. But as of right now, that's an interesting question for me. They're an A.
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and it's something that will need to be sort of explored as we go through the next couple of years. I will say, early returns, they did beat Miami in that Leagues Cup final. Now, I don't know how important Leagues Cup final is to everybody. Miami was willing to fight and bleed over it after the whistle, but maybe they could still do that. Yeah, I agree. I think there's an argument for just slotting Seattle in an A every year since until 2009.
Until they prove otherwise.
Yeah, that's.
I agree.
Pretty easy. You do wonder though, if there isn't an opportunity for them to move a couple of chess pieces around and bring in a $10 million player, like a $10 million transfer.
It's not how they operate, and that's the interesting part.
But if they did, though.
Yeah, if they did. If they weren't themselves.
Now, we go to Minnesota United. 58 points. New manager this go round. Cameron Knowles was previously an assistant with them last year. Was an assistant under not Healy. Who was the other one after Healy? Or maybe
Ramsey.
It was Healy. No, the manager before Ramsey. Anyway, Knowles has been there through 2 administrations in Minnesota. They added 2 big names. Well, 1 big name and 1 long name. James, Jesus, I was about to do it. James Rodriguez is the big addition. That's the big headline name there. Drake Callender, also acquired via trade. Now, the reason why they had to go out and acquire Drake Callender is they did let Dane St. Clair walk, or at least Dane St. Clair ran out of the building to Miami.
You have to note, though, that I want to make sure that we're clear on this, is James Rodriguez is only going to be on this team through the World Cup. There's
an option to extend, but yes.
There's an option to extend, but every bit of reporting has suggested that he is only here for World Cup tune-up purposes and to be in the country ahead of the World Cup. Now, he may end up loving Minnesota, who is to say, but I think that you have to, when you're evaluating this team this year, you have to factor in the fact that the biggest addition they made may only be here until June-ish. So.
Yeah. And it's it's maybe enough, at least to get into the playoffs. Maybe it doesn't get you contending for trophies, but it might be enough for you to, get yourself a nice playoff seating and then just see what happens.
So here's where I don't love what has happened at all this offseason for Minnesota.
Okay.
For any number of reasons on the field and off the field.
Yeah, that's fair.
But so much of Minnesota's identity and so much of their success was tied to scheme with Eric Ramsey. And, you would hope that, with retaining on Cameron Knowles on the staff, someone with some continuity, that there is going to be continuity of play and continuity of tactic. I've seen it too many times before in soccer and in other sports that the protege or the person that's been hanging around the building, that all of the ability of the manager doesn't rub off on you. And the person who inherits the system isn't always able to keep the system going. And given that, I think this team needed to bring in way more firepower this offseason. I've got them as a C. I think that this could be, I think there is more volatility on this team than probably any other team in the West. But as of right now, I think the roster isn't good enough. I think especially with Rodriguez only being around for half a year and with questions in the technical area, I've got him as a C.
I can go along with that. Calendar is such a fascinating addition. If anybody, again, please send this to me if you have it. I would love to know what Charlotte was thinking by trading for him and taking a $300,000 GAM loss on Drake Calendar. It makes absolutely no sense.
There's money laundering going on here somewhere.
Yeah, there's some GAM laundering for sure.
The problem with Minnesota, the concern level is that this is a team that, like, you throw the record book out with field tilt when you're looking at this team last year in possession. I think they were one of, if not the lowest possession teams in MLS.
Yeah.
They averaged less than, I think, 40% with the ball. The field tilt stats made it look like it was a open cup match, MLS versus USL. It feels like the bottom can absolutely fall out of this team if the tactics aren't there on a week-to-week basis like they had under Ramsey.
Breaking news, by the way.
Uh-oh.
On Minnesota. They are finalizing a deal for MLS veteran right back Kyle Duncan.
Oh my God.
Well, it changes everything then. Glad we got that.
S tier for sure.
He's a good player. I think he's a pretty good player.
No, he's a good player. That's a good choice. Red Bull player.
Also played in Europe, like in Belgium and whatever.
I mean, that's helpful. I know there's some Dane St. Clair haters that say that he benefited tremendously from a very good defense, and that sort of skewed his overall stats on that one. The advanced metrics try to account for that, but it's out there. I do think that this team drops off. I think a C is a fair grade for where they stand, and they could go either way. Yeah. Then that takes us to LAFC. 60 points last year. New manager this year with Mark Dos Santos taking over for Steve Cherundolo, who announced midway through the season last season that he was not going to be the manager next year. Big additions just happened a handful of days ago before we recorded. Stefan,
I think it's Eustachio.
That makes
more
sense and
from
sounds
Porto,
like a name.
right?
Yeah,
yes.
He's Canadian, but I think
Porto.
of Portuguese descent. I believe he's a dual citizen.
Yes.
So he's played most of his career in Portugal. Very good player.
Very good player.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the rich get richer on this one. S. Just go ahead and put it up there. This team is the class, one of the classes of MLS. If you want reason as another team in the Western Conference to believe that there could be a faltering here, I don't think there's a lot of warts on this team. I think this is an excellent team. The two big questions that you have with LAFC this year is, number one, does Denny Bouanga want to be on this club? I'm a big believer that when a player's name is out there a ton with transfer rumors, it means his agent is working the reporters as much as other teams are making phone calls to the club. So I'm curious if Bouanga wants to be there. And it would not be the first time where there was a person who was the man on a team, and suddenly a new the man shows up in the form of Hyunmin's son, and all of a sudden, the old flavor doesn't like being the old flavor anymore. So that's question one.
There are 27 teams who should be trying to buy Denny Bouanga in MLS.
Yes, they're absolutely true. There are hundreds of teams around the world that should be trying to buy Denny Bouanga if he's available right now.
Yeah, but a lot of those teams, their window is closed.
Yeah, that is true. The other big question that I have with LAFC is, you're obviously moving from Cherundolo to Marc Dos Santos. Cherundolo, at the end of the year, he got this team playing very well together. He got Son integrated into this team effectively. Son and Bouanga became the most dangerous duo in MLS. If you want to cling to hope that maybe there'll be some fall off, it's that you just don't know that the new management is going to be able to get as much out of them. The problem with that is the talent level is so goddamn high that even if there is a fall off from a formation or a tactical standpoint, this is still one of the top 2 or 3 teams in MLS.
Yeah. I think if Marc Dos Santos was coming from like an assistant manager at like Vancouver or was a head coach in USL, I think I'd have more questions about that. In fact, it would be insane if he was a head coach in USL and was picked to take over this team. But being an assistant manager on this team last year, I think at least helps with that. I mean, I can't speak to how the players rate him in the locker room, but I'm going to guess that their new loanee from Porto has a relationship with him via the Canadian connection. There would be a suspicion. So I'm going to guess he gets something out of it. I think if they can get Bouanga settled, I mean, this team should be challenging for every piece of silverware available to them this year.
The number one thing that Dos Santos has to do is just do not break what was working last year. Like, I know he said he wants to have a formation change. Do not change the formation. Do the exact same thing you were doing in September and October last year. This team is going to be fine. So this is very much a roll the ball out and get the hell out of the way from the talent on this team.
Eustachio is going to make such an impact in their midfield.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a few years ago. I think it was the year that they won the MLS Cup. Well, they won the double with the Gareth Bale team. A huge part of that was fixing their midfield by signing Ilie. Yeah. And I see, like, I think this is this has a potential for a bigger impact version of that move. But I think in today's MLS, like, you need to lock down your midfield. And the problem is, like, a lot of teams don't want to use designated player spots in that position. And I think that could be a mistake.
Yeah. I mean, I'm team 3 midfielders when it comes to designated players. Like, you're preaching to the choir on that one.
Now, one thing that is also worth pointing out is that that loan is only through the World Cup as well. It is not a full year-long loan. So,
but I'm a lot more confident that he's going to fall in love and want to stay in LA than Rodriguez is going to want to stay in Minnesota. That's
fair enough.
That's just reality right there.
We have them in S tier in the Western Conference, not to broaden the conversation too far, but they're an S tier across MLS.
S-tier, yeah. They're one of the 2 best teams in MLS.
If anybody other than Miami is, LAFC is.
Yeah.
And frankly, I think the drop off after them in Miami is pretty significant.
I think that's fair. Next up, then, the darlings of 2025, the Vancouver Whitecaps. 63 points with then new manager Jesper Sorensen. He is now back for his second year. Not a lot of big additions. The biggest one I have on here is AZ Jackson coming back to MLS on loan, was previously with, was it St. Louis and then Columbus? Couple of decent subtractions here. Jaden Nelson, we mentioned previously, to Austin. Ali Ahmed transferred to Norwich, and Daniel Rios, his loan expired. There was a contributor last year. They were incredible last year. Do we think now with a full year of Thomas Muller, should we expect similar results? Is there backsliding to be thought here? What are we thinking?
Yeah, this team's loaded. Like, there's so much talent on this team. Like, you're not even talking about, Seb Berhalter, Brian White, guys that aren't even on premium roster contracts. They're not on U22 or DP deals. Like, there is an embarrassment of riches with this team.
Yeah.
Having said all that, I still think they're a level below LA. I don't think they're as good as LA. I think we even saw that last year in the MLS Cup playoffs presented by Audi, as discussed by the World's Gam. I think they are clearly the second best team in the West. I think they are probably a top 4 team in MLS. I'm tempted to have them as an A and not an S, just because I think there will be some backslide a little bit.
And you always wonder what's going on there, right? Because are they going to get sold? Are they really all that? Are they going to be willing to do what needs to be done to catch up or keep pace with LAFC? I think there's too many question marks behind the scenes in Vancouver to put them in the S tier. So for me, out of respect for everything that they did and everybody who they still have in the building, I think it's an A.
Yeah.
I think it's tough to put them any higher.
Yeah. I think there's, Kevin, you want to talk me into making them an S? I love the talent on this team. I just don't think they're LA, and I don't think they're Miami.
What if I told you I believe Ryan Gauld has an unfixable injury problem and I have them as a B team?
Oh my God.
I think that they performed very well last year. Sorensen did an incredible job, and all of that went well. I think they lost enough talent and haven't backfilled enough to maintain that higher standard, that with the vibes around this team, I would be worried about a couple of bad losses plus, another long season. Lots of competitions for them. I could see the wheels
a lot of matches on turf too.
Yeah.
Okay, but if it does click, and you don't need to make many projections to see what it looks like when it does click, or to imagine it might click.
Because we saw it last year.
We've seen it, and it's a lot of the same people.
Mm-hmm.
They're a clear top contender in the West.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't have to say like, oh, if this player gets a lot better, or if they make some additions,
right,
or they got a new coach or whatever. They just don't have any of these question marks that a lot of these other teams have. Yeah, they could. Yeah, they could slide down. And I think that the possibility of sliding down keeps them out of the S tier, but just given what we know they can do, and then it doesn't take a big leap of logic to imagine that they will do it again.
Yeah.
That's an A for me.
It's an A. What's the weakness on this team? I mean, even if you look at goalkeeping, Takioka got better over the course of the year too, to become probably one of the top 10 goalkeepers in MLS last year.
I think there's always going to be tough to replace. He was a very active player for them.
Yeah.
He's probably the biggest loss. Yeah.
There's so much talent, and The only worry for me is the behind the scenes stuff with this team. Otherwise, I think that this is a very, very good team.
Yeah. Now, our next team is also our last team. I think is a very interesting conversation. San Diego won the West last year, 63 points, an expansion year. Another one of these expansion teams coming in and doing very, very well right away. Mikey Varas was your manager there. Big additions? Well, they added Lewis Morgan in a trade from Red Bull New York, or whatever they're trying to get them to rebrand for the rest of us to say. Luca De La Torre's loan expired. They transferred Patty McNair to Hull City, and he is still on the team, to be clear. But it does seem as if they have banished Chucky Lozano. So I have him in as the subtractions. I don't think he plays for this team. I guess we can't rule it out, but it feels like a prime cash for target for another one of these teams later in the year. San Diego.
Maybe Dallas can do it again. Pay a cash for Chucky Lozano and experience the joy of a malcontent for a second year in a row.
But it might work for us.
Yeah, I can fix him.
Now, I think San Diego for me was an A or a B team, somewhere in there going into this season. I'm willing to chalk up a lot of this to, I think in a lot of ways, it's probably easier to start an MLS team from scratch than to inherit something and, turn it over, change it over. I'd even say it's easier than even taking a USL team. Ask Minnesota and Cincinnati how easy it is to take a pre-existing team and turn it into an MLS team. Kind of tricky. We saw this previously with Austin and St. Louis. That second year hits you like a ton of bricks. Now, unfortunately for San Diego, their season starts 2 weeks earlier than everybody else. But fortunately for me, I saw them beat the shit out of Pumas in Champions League. And that's got me rethinking some things. So now I don't know how to feel about the San Diego team. I'm tempted to say S tier on the back of one Champions League performance.
No.
But I'll hear it out.
I've got them as a B. And I've got them as a B for this reason, is that there's a ton of uncertainty about the top end of their roster, specifically with Chucky Lozano and what's going on there. They still have some really good players, but the second year MLS thing is real. Like, I can't unknow how badly Austin and St. Louis fell off after looking like they're playing the game on easy mode in their first year. Now, whether that's, you make choices with your roster based on win now, or whether it's a product of having all of the undisclosed amount of extra GAM and TAM on the roster for that first year, I don't know. But expansion teams fall off. It's what has happened recently. I have to think there's going to be a backslide for San Diego. I had them as an A team last year. I've got them as a B this year.
Oh, hold on. Here's a problem.
Okay.
St. Louis, as an expansion team, played terrible soccer.
Yes.
They were way outperforming all of their metrics, and the underlying stats told you that they were just getting lucky, basically. And they lost in the first round of the playoffs, and then they sucked year two. Yeah. San Diego played near the best soccer in the league, both by like eyeball test and underlying numbers. They've made what I think are some very smart moves. They're going to miss De La Torre, but I don't think they're going to miss Lozano. They were great without him last year.
Yeah.
And then they come in, apparently don't miss a beat, right? They beat Pumas, 4-2, 4-1 on aggregate. 4-1 on aggregate.
Or 4-2 on aggregate. Sorry.
It's not a B team. I think they're A tier. Like I know I have the same thoughts where it's like I did not believe in them before last season, and they're a second year team that's maybe ripe for a second year drop off. It doesn't make sense that like Mikey Varas can go from the youth national team setup to being able to in like a season put together the best soccer among the best soccer that the league has ever seen on a team level.
Oh,
but
New England is banking on that formula being repeatable.
That happened. You can't know that happened.
Yeah.
Sure, but here's where I'll push back on that, is that this is a team that had a goal differential last year of plus 27, XG differential plus 9. They were 7th in the league in goal differential. They've incredibly outperformed their metrics. So when you say they're different than St. Louis, yeah, their underlying level of play was higher than St. Louis, but they still way outperformed the metrics that you should see on paper according to the XG differential. Additionally, with this team, look, the Champions Cup thing, I don't know what that's all about. And yeah, it made me do a double take on this too. But what you're banking on with this team, if you are saying that this team is going to, repeat and stay at that S level up there, is that, do you think Anders Dreyer is going to have another MVP type season? I don't know. Like, I think he's a good player. Do I think that he is a, third, fourth level MVP player behind Messi and, guys like Son, Evander, Bouanga? I don't think he's in that level. He played like it last year. I'm going to need to see it again from him if I think that's going to happen. I don't have a problem if you want to make this an A team, but I think this is a lot closer to a B team than an S team this year.
Yeah, I think another piece of this too is the mid-season departure of Milan Ilowski. He was an incredible contributor to them early on, helped get them way high up in the table. They didn't necessarily drop off, but they didn't replace that production, and they still have it. Like, I don't think Lewis Morgan is doing that. So I certainly think there are reasons to be concerned, but I mean, this might be the first designated team that we've had in a long time.
I guess let's put him in B just to
create some controversy with the list.
Controversy.
Be different.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to ask you guys. So we'll put them in B. I'll read through what we have, and then I'll give us sort of an opportunity to, now that it's all laid out, rearrange some things. So we have in the F tier, Kansas City and St. Louis. D tier is Colorado. C tier is Houston, San Jose, RSL, Dallas, and Minnesota. B tier is San Diego, Austin, Portland, Galaxy. A tier of Vancouver and Seattle. And the sole possessor of an S tier is the LAFC. Now that we see it, do we want to move anything? Anybody stand out as being in the wrong spot?
If you want to move Quakes down to D, I guess I'm not going to be mad about
that. Chief, once he saw Minnesota go to the C tier, realized Quakes don't need to be there too.
there are levels to this. Yeah,
I kind of want to move. I kind of want to move Portland to C too, but I'm okay with them at B.
Okay. What's funny about this is, Grayson, this is like the perfect bell curve. I know. I think we were a little too nice to some teams, but that's okay. We might have been. I think definitely think Houston and RSL, we could be meaner to.
Yeah, I think we could have been meaner to RSL. We probably could have been meaner to Galaxy too. I could be talking to Galaxy being a C tier team right now.
Look, if we were better content producers, I would move Galaxy to an A tier just to drive the engagement.
Yeah, well, we do it. We are here for love of the sport. We're not here for clicks, downloads. We're not doing this for money. So, but if you want to give us money, I'm not gonna complain.
That is true. So there you have it. There is our Western Conference. We'll tweet this out, or we'll post this out wherever as well. But yeah, feeling good. And honestly, I know this isn't the most in-depth thing. We're not going through everybody's lineup and tactics and all that, but I feel like I've got a better sense of the Western Conference having done this. So
it's mid. That's I think that hasn't changed. Is that I think that last year, I think that the Western Conference was top heavy, and if there was a big blob of teams in the middle that really struggled to break out from the pack, I could very much see that being the case this year. I think that the top of the West is a good degree better than the middle of the West.
Yeah.
Like the line between, I'll say this, the line between Vancouver, Seattle to the B tier is pretty massive in terms of the drop off right there. I'll hear your arguments that San Diego could pop up to that. But beyond that, like there is a massive talent gulf between those two teams and the rest of the B tier.
Yeah. I completely agree. It'll be interesting. Next week, we'll do the Eastern Conference. It'll be interesting to see if we come up with a similar bell curve or if something else is going on in the Eastern Conference. So
if I was doing this instead of tiers, I would just be like
pass fail. 12
to 13 teams suck. A couple teams are okay and a couple teams are good.
You know, it's funny. If you did this by, I think they are trying to win a trophy, I might put Galaxy up in A, and I'm not sure that anybody in B or below are actually trying to win a trophy.
San Diego.
It's hard to say San Diego's not.
Yeah. I don't.
Now, are they trying as hard as everybody else?
Yeah, they try as hard as the other people they're competing with. I don't think the answer is true to that, but
I don't know.
Lewis Morgan is a hugely high upside deal.
As a nice upside
he
deal,
might be fully washed,
right?
But if he's not,
the other thing about this San Diego thing too is that if they get rid of Lozano and sign a DP, like this team is immediately high A, like pushing for S tier.
Yeah, see, that's the move that's got me confused, which is like they're doing everything to distress the asset. Like Lozano has out in the media, like, I want to play in San Diego.
They're trying to get rid of him. Yeah.
But like, wouldn't you still like keep him around and like act like he's going to be this big piece just to try to extract a couple more dollars?
Not if you really want to move him so you could replace him, right?
I guess if you're desperate, yeah.
No reasonable offer refused. Like if there's an opposite of like, I know what I have, no low balls, like they're doing the opposite of that.
Just let like Facebook AI respond to transfer offers. Like, do you still is Chucky Lozano still for sale? Yeah, free.
But you have to come and pick him up.
You do have to come pick him up. He's got a lot of luggage.
Yeah. A lot of baggage, if you will.
I will say if Jorge Mas was running San Diego, Lozano would have already been bought out or transferred to like Real Madrid for $20 million. One of the two. Or
sold to Montreal for $4 million in GAM.
Actually, that's probably what would happen. It might still happen. Stay woke on that.
Get ready to speak impact, buddy.
Oh, all right. Well, with that, Chief, I think we can kill it.
All right. Release the tapes.
The World's Gam is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out online at thepostcincy.com, where you can find out more information about the people putting this podcast together. I also want to give a huge thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers, a fantastic band that has provided us with all of the music in this episode. The voiceover work at the beginning of the episode was done by Steph E., which was paid for her time and also not an AI voice. And if you have liked what you have heard so far, or even if you haven't, I am begging you, please like us, rate us, review us, leave us 5 stars. That would be amazing. Leave a little note saying how much you liked it. But maybe more importantly, share this with a friend or mention us to another fan of an MLS team. I think that would be a lovely way to help our little community grow. But regardless of whether or not you liked it, whether or not you share it, whether or not you review it, I want to say thank you for listening to it.